Hello and good afternoon, everyone. We're going to make a start, I think. Thank you so much for joining this webinar today. It's really great to see you all here. It'd be great to get some information about where everyone's coming from. If you could just put in the chat where you are, where you're listening from, that would be really helpful just to see where our audience is coming from. Just to let you know, there'll be a recording of this session and will be available. We'll email that after the event. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat function, and we'll get these over and we'll kind of get through as many as we can following the presentation. For those that we don't get to kind of talk through, we'll email you as well. So yeah, with that in mind, we will get started. I'll just introduce myself. I am Jordana. I am the head of sixth form at Tram House School. I've worked at Beyond Autism schools for the last 14 years and kind of specifically focusing within the sixth form department for the last 7. So kind of got a bit of experience in this area, and today we're going to be focusing on making experiences at work successful for autistic individuals. So we'll get started. So just to start, really, kind of why do we do? What's the purpose of experiences of work? And just a really kind of prominent figure here. So 30% of working age autistic individuals are employed compared to 80% of non-disabled people. So I think that's a really significant figure and shows the importance of sessions like this. So thank you all for joining and really kind of broaden the experiences for autistic individuals in the workplace. So just talking through some of the benefits for autistic learners or individuals in the workplace. Obviously, for all of us, building those routines is really important. Identifying their strengths, being able to explore different careers is really important. Like my sixth form learners have a range of opportunities to try and explore different career options to see what they enjoy doing. Gives them a real sense of independence. And I suppose looking at it's not just for the individual, there are benefits for the employers too. Increase employee morale, for example, enhancing workplace inclusivity, having that diverse talent is all really important within a workplace. So all really important things to consider. So let's moving on through. So next, I just want to talk a little bit about communication in the workplace. So autistic individuals may struggle with communication, as we know, and social interactions, which can affect their ability to engage with colleagues and contribute to team activities. So I suppose things that we may consider a challenge, autistic employees might find it difficult to use gestures, for example, pointing or shrugging their shoulders, kind of to add meaning to their speech. So their communication may be less clear or expressive. Avoiding eye contact is something we commonly see. Could be misinterpreted as being rude or disinterest. And it could cause some challenges for others to engage or kind of gauge whether the individual's listening or paying attention. So these things are things, and we'll kind of go this into a bit more detail a bit later, all things to kind of look at how we can support an autistic employee. Understanding, expressing feelings could be a challenge. So reading facial expressions and understanding social cues can be challenging. And then kind of speech and language difficulties as well, kind of volume and tone. Might have individuals who speak too loudly with an unusual tone of voice, maybe without realizing it. That may be understood by others. May have difficulty expressing thoughts, so trouble articulating what they want to say. Maybe understanding instructions might be a challenge. So there's lots of things here you can see. Social rules being another one in the workplace, such as turn-taking conversations, maybe reading the room. They might not understand that kind of hierarchical dynamic as well. So these are all things that we can look at to kind of support autistic individuals within the workplace. So just moving on then in terms of sensory needs. So it's really important to remember that not every autistic person will experience sensory input in the same way. Individuals' experiences may vary, and it's important that we consider this within a workplace environment as well. And I suppose for any individual, any adaptations or adjustments needed can change over time. So that's also a really important thing to consider, having those review points and needing to continuously speak to that employee, that autistic person. What is it? What support do you need? So then we can adapt that and make changes over time. So just something really important to remember. So just looking then, what might sensory overload look like, specifically in a workplace? So an autistic individual may struggle to stay on task, so difficulty focusing. They might get distracted by noises, visual stimuli, which could be, I don't know, like lights flickering, even certain textures or materials around them. So this can make things a bit overwhelming and then kind of hard for them to complete tasks. We may also see kind of restlessness, irritability, frustration. For example, an autistic employee might become upset by background noises, strong smells, bright lights. So with all these things, and we'll go into this a bit more in a moment, what can we do to support that individual in the workplace, and what adjustments can we make? So we'll look at that in a bit. We've also got covering ears or eyes is a really common coping mechanism that we see, especially in the learners that I work with. They may cover their ears to block out loud sounds, or shielding their eyes from bright lights, for example, and seek out those quieter environments to try and support them not feeling so overwhelmed. So that's their coping mechanism that they're using. We've got feeling stress or anxiousness or fear. I suppose in terms of if an individual doesn't know what's expected of them or what's happening next, we may see, I suppose it's the same for anyone really, we may see some anxiety around that. So what can we put in place to support those individuals in the workplace? So let's have a look then. We've also got our self-stimulatory behaviour. So just wanted to touch on this as well. So self-stimulatory behaviour, often referred to as stimming, is a common coping mechanism for many autistic individuals, particularly in the workplace. These repetitive behaviours can help regulate. So just looking at then some strategies for supporting autistic employees. So really important that we can, and again, this is very individualized. A lot of the work that I do at Tram House Sixth Form is very tailored to that individual pupil. So what is it that pupil, what do they need to be able to, I suppose, function, to continue working within their work placement? So some of the things we offer could be a quiet space or areas with minimal distractions for them to complete their work. So when we look at starting a placement for our individuals that we work with, we discuss this at length with our employers, saying, is this something that we can kind of look at and review? Is there a quiet space that can be set up for our pupils to go and have that space, have that sensory friendly environment? We've also got normalizing self-regulation behaviour. So it's really important to try and encourage the workplace and the culture to recognise and respect self-stimulatory behaviours is a form of self-care. For example, allowing employees to listen to headphones or use fidget toys can help them feel more comfortable. So I do a lot of training with employers that I work with around these things, and giving them the tools as well to understand what they need to do and what adaptations they need to make for autistic employees. We've also got here providing options for stimming toys. So a lot of our pupils have preferences about what they might like to use. So it could be chewies, fidget toys, access to calming tools. Some pupils have weighted blankets or desk toys. I just think of things that I have. I have a bit of blue tack as well. So it's not just necessarily for autistic individuals. A lot of people would have those kind of fidget toys to keep them on task as well. Flexible break schedules is also something that we consider. Some of our learners can't particularly stay at a particular task for a long period of time. So having those options for regular breaks is important, and kind of, I suppose, employers understanding that is also really helpful. So this can include kind of walking around, a break in a quiet room. And like I said, educating co-workers, so making sure that they understand about autism and kind of self-symmetry behaviours and what that looks like and why that's happening for that individual as well is really important. So just moving on then. So how can we communicate with autistic individuals, and specifically looking at this within the workplace as well? Autistic employees may face challenges in processing information. So it's important that we kind of, and again, this is very much subjected to individual preferences as well. So speaking to the learner, speaking to the individual, and speaking to the employee around this to get their input is really important. So limiting how much we say. Sometimes some individuals may feel overwhelmed by the lengthy explanations, kind of breaking down information to smaller manageable steps. And that's something that we really look at. Some of the principles we work towards are behaviour analysis, and breaking down those skills into smaller and manageable information is something that we really focus on within our kind of teaching practice, as well as supporting individuals in the workplace as well. So this includes kind of giving one step at a time, avoiding any unnecessary details. Slowing down your delivery is also useful, speaking at a slower pace, allowing the individual more time to process what they're saying. Using specific words, so it might be that there's a key word that you want them to kind of focus on. So having that as a like kind of emphasizing that within your speech could be beneficial. We've also got allowing time between what you have said and what's the expected responses. So autistic individuals may need extra time to process information before responding. So if you're having a meeting or a conversation, kind of allow that time, kind of pause and ask the questions to think before you kind of interrupt, and it kind of helps with preventing pressure and stress as well. They've also then got being able to be aware of the impact of the environment, so sensory input. So yes, as we've kind of spoke about the sensory input, the office environment can be kind of full on for a lot of people. Lots of distractions. A lot of people prefer working from home these days, just to avoid that kind of busy, loud noise, that strong smell environment. So this can also affect an autistic person's ability to focus or process information. So being mindful of that, the sensory environment, and if possible, offering those quieter spaces or adjustments is important as well. So let's have a look then. What can we do? Setting the stage for success, pre-placement preparation. So what is it that we can practically do to support an individual in the workplace? So the first thing I start with whenever I have an individual that, okay, right, we're looking at what are their preferences, what do they enjoy doing, their strengths and interests, and we always go from that point, conducting that individualized assessment. We then look at kind of support needs. So what support's needed? Do they need visual supports, maybe a job coach, or a TLP? We use our support staff on site, that's what we call them, TLPs. Maybe do they need any kind of sensory accommodations, or like kind of clearer instructions to be able to manage within the workplace? Kind of looking and reviewing those potential challenges in the early steps is really important, because then you can kind of put a plan in place to prevent any of those challenges hopefully coming to light. So based on their individual profile and kind of what the work experience looks like, kind of anticipating those challenges is important. And then I suppose really important for anyone, we all want to do work that we enjoy doing, so matching interest opportunities. And I know work placements can be tricky for autistic individuals to come across, and we've had our own challenges at Tram House School Sixth Form. So being able to match those interest opportunities can be a challenge for us staff working with autistic individuals. But yeah, in general, finding job opportunities, go back to that figure initially, only 30% of the autistic individuals are at work, in work. So but if we can all find a placement that we really enjoy doing, that natural motivation to do the job and to do it well will kind of instinctively be there. So that's really important to consider during that initial assessment. We then look at skill development, so kind of targeted training. So what is it that what are those essential skills that that individual needs for that workplace environment? So communication is the tool that we always start with, and it's really important. Can they communicate that they need help? Can they communicate that they need a break? Can they communicate if they need extra time to do something? So having all those communication skills is really important. And alongside this, kind of social skills, what social skills do they have? Can they say hello? Can they go up to their work buddy again to ask for help? Can they get all those social interactions that they need to within the workplace? Can they manage their own time? Do they understand the workplace etiquette as well? So there's lots of different things in that kind of targeted training that we could kind of focus on. And one way of supporting that skill development is through role play, something we found really beneficial. Practicing the skills, especially within our school setting. We role play, we practice. I've got a workboard in-house that we go and practice those key skills. So then they've had that experience within a kind of safe environment. And then when they're ready, they can go and practice those within their work placements externally as well. So that's a really key way that we practice skill development at Tram House School Sixth Form. We also have looking at the communication with the employer, making sure that we're being transparent, explaining what the individual strengths are, what support needs they have, and any challenges that employer may face. So we typically send across a pupil profile, so like key information about this individual, and that is shared with the employer. That's where possible, we get input from the individual as well around what support do I need, what do I need from the employer to be able to help me stay on task at work. And this could also include developing a support plan. So collaborating with the employee to create a plan that outlines roles, responsibilities, and communication protocols, all really helps in those early pre-placement preparation to try and avoid any further things. So some of you can see here, I've got the toolkit visuals here. So this is something that Beyond Autism have created. And yes, there is a link we'll share later, but we have access to download this for free on our website. And that's got loads of useful information in terms of that pre-placement preparation. There's a kind of easy read version and a bit more complex version. It talks about what the employee can do and what the individual can do within the workplace, and lots of useful resources in there. So do check it out if you have a chance. So just moving on then, creating a supportive work environment. So in the workplace, it's really important to consider how instructions are presented, as I've mentioned earlier. It may be that an individual needs the task being modelled to them, and that's a way of them being more successful in completing the task. So it could be modeling, but it could also be written or visual support as well. So kind of writing down what that instruction might be may also be beneficial in terms of giving those clear instructions. Kind of curating success criteria. So I know everyone loves a deadline, right? Having that deadline, okay, right, this is due at this point. Let's work out how we can achieve that. We've got, I don't know, these 5 tasks to complete. Let's say we've got until the end of the day. How can we complete those tasks in a timely manner? So having kind of clear expectations of what's expected is really helpful. Consider how instructions are presented. So I said modeling a task, written down. I've put here creating task lists. So yeah, having it kind of structured in a way that an individual can follow quite easily is really helpful. So yeah, kind of creating those task lists. We also have those sensory accommodations. So we spoke about all those sensory needs earlier. Having a quieter space, noise cancelling headphones may be beneficial for an individual. Again, it's all very individualized. Those lighting adjustments, not always possible. Maybe an individual might benefit from wearing, I've got some people that like to wear sunglasses inside, for example, and that is an adjustment for them that they can quite easily do themselves, which is helpful. So let's have a look. Our next slide. The power of partnership. So job coaching for success. So what is a job coach? Does anyone heard of a job coach before? So job coaching is a personalized support service to help individuals with disabilities to succeed in the workplace. So this includes responsibilities of the job coach include things such as on-site support, task analysis. So task analysis is breaking down complex tasks into smaller, manageable steps. So kind of looking at what it is that individual needs and breaking that down so they can achieve it. So I suppose an example might be a task, I'm thinking of I don't know, some of our pupils, they like to do some gardening, for example. So a job coach might come in, okay, right, this is quite a complex task. So I know the skill of using a lawnmower, just think about that. So it involves kind of plugging it in, pressing the button to get it working. Obviously, we need to go over to the grass first before we start. So it's about breaking that skill down into those smaller tasks. And we might need to teach those individual steps before the individual can kind of complete the whole task of mowing the lawn. So that's something to consider. We also have advocacy, so making sure we're communicating with the employer and advocating for the individual's needs. So that's something that a job coach would do. And they would also look at kind of gradually reducing support as an individual gains independence. It's all about that, gaining those independent skills and fading off that. We also have, there are benefits of using the job coach. So we have obviously increased independence, promoting independence, self-sufficiency, enhances job performance and productivity. We also have supporting the employer support, so providing support for the employer and kind of resources for the employer to use as well is really helpful. So teamwork makes the dream work. It's true. Communication and collaboration are all really important kind of steps to consider when looking at the workplace for autistic individuals. So having that open communication channels, as I said earlier, it's really important to have lots of different ways that individual can communicate with you, and kind of having those key points to check in with. So hopefully all employees have those regular check-ins, all those regular one-to-ones, but you might need more of those for an autistic individual. So just having that in mind. Feedback I've put here, so encouraging open and honest feedback from all kind of stakeholders, but also the way that you present feedback need to be adapted for an autistic individual, and speaking with that individual themselves and how they want to have that feedback is really important. Not everyone likes having feedback on the spot, for example. Maybe they want them in writing so they can refer to it later. Maybe they want to have I don't know, a bit more of a chat about it at the end of the day. So kind of looking at what that looks like for the individual. And then we also have problem solving. So kind of addressing any problems or concerns that arise throughout the placement, not just kind of leaving it to get really bad and someone really struggling. It's really important to try and address those problems as soon as. And it might be that we speak to the employer and we look at how we can make changes and adaptations, but also for the individual as well. How can we support them, and can they problem solve themselves as well? So kind of considering those things is important too. So, which moves me on to addressing challenges. So it's really important, obviously, to be solution focused. I like to think of the positivity of things and how we can move forward. So some common challenges that we've experienced and some autistic individuals may experience. So we spoke about sensory overload, those social misunderstandings, difficulties with changes in routine, task completion issues. So they are all common things that we may experience in the workplace. So how can we overcome this? Kind of, as I've said, providing that quiet space, making adjustments to the environment, even teaching the individual those coping strategies. We do a lot of work within our service around teaching. Okay, you're feeling sad, you're feeling a bit upset at this point. Like, what can you do about it? What strategies do you have in your toolkit to be able to kind of cope and manage within those situations? So there's lots of things that, as everyone does. So if you're tired, you might have a cup of coffee in the morning, or if you're, I don't know, feeling a bit silly, you might go for a bit of a walk and come back. So it's how we all try and function to get through the day. So teaching those coping strategies is really important. Social misunderstandings, so kind of clarifying those expectations, providing social trainings, kind of mediate any conflicts that may come up, kind of, I suppose, typical things you may see in a workplace already. Obviously, we have some individuals that have difficulties with those changes. So trying to provide as much notice as possible, using visual support. So a lot of our learners use kind of now, next, later boards, or like a visual schedule, or just generally I write down, I use my calendar during this, like in the work day, to try and manage my time, but kind of not just changing things within like 15 minutes, half an hour. Trying to provide as much notice as possible is also really helpful. Also task completion, breaking down tasks, as I said, into smaller steps is also really helpful. So I was coming to an end now. I realised the time, so I spoke a lot, but just having a look then at some success stories. So I just wanted to share some experiences that we've had at sixth form. So one of our young learners here, we have work placements within our kind of charity office team, and every Monday a group of pupils go to the charity office and they help prepare all those employability toolkits I was talking about earlier. So this is a really hands-on experience for learners, kind of working on those organisation skills. They have the assembly skills of working together to, one of them writes on the envelope the addresses and posts them out. Another puts the toolkits in a book, and taking that responsibility within the workplace. So their pupils really enjoy this work placement. We also have, we work with a local cafe. Here we have another learner. This is a cafe based in Earlsfield, and we've partnered with them for a number of years actually, and they've been really, really helpful over the years, in terms of, we did some training with them and then things weren't quite working out. So then we kind of went in and made changes and adaptations. And our pupils really love going here. They feel like they actually are useful and really value what's going on within the workplace as well. So they work as a team, and they work on their time management skills. And yeah, it's a really nice work environment. So if you are ever around in Earlsfield Community Centre, I think it's a Tuesday they go, pop in and you'll see some of our learners engaging there. At this point, we're just going to put some additional resources and further support within the chat, just so you have that information about the toolkit and anything else. There's a few other bits I wanted to share at this point as well. So we're just going to stick them in the chat for you at this point. Yes. That is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for joining our session. We have a little bit of time for questions, but yeah, I'm conscious that I've spoken a lot and it's 1 o'clock now, so we've kind of reached our time. If you are want to find out more how we can help you, you can get in touch. There's a QR code on this screen. You can scan the QR code and you can book a free consultation, and we can kind of discuss a bit further how we can support you. And also we've got lots of other training and outreach offerings as well for your setting. So just at this point, we have our next session on Thursday, the 24th of April, on managing transitions from early years to schools, and that's with Marta, our head of early years. So yes, I suppose if there's any quick questions that I can have a look through. Let's see. 2 quick questions I've been told. Would the job coach from the employer or staff from the employer or staff from the post-16 provision? So typically we've used a job coach from the post-16 provision. We haven't actually come across an employer with a job coach, but there are ways to apply for a job coach through Access to Work, which we're kind of exploring as well. It's a bit of a lengthy process. But yes, that's something that we are also looking for more information on. But yes, typically it's from our post-16 provision that comes from. Just seeing anything else. If an autistic person has difficulty in the amount of work they've been given and their workplace can't cut it down, is there any way to help with calming them down to help them complete the tasks they have? Let me just read that again. So yes, there would definitely be ways to cut down. So can they ask in terms of, I suppose, what stage are they at in terms of their kind of acting, and how many things they can do at once, I suppose. There's difficulty in the amount of work has been given. Yeah, I suppose it's a very tricky one. It's that expectation, isn't it? I think what are they motivated for within that work placement, and we use motivation quite a lot to see what is it that learner's like. Is it what they're working for motivating enough to complete the task? If it's not, then reconsidering that. So obviously a lot of people go to work for money. Kind of an autistic person may struggle to wait a whole month to get that payment. So for some of our guys, we have a kind of a plan in place where they complete, I don't know, a couple of tasks, and then they might have a break. And if they complete all their tasks in the day, they then do a fun thing at the end of that session. So for example, they go to the shops and they buy like a preferred item or something. Yeah, I think it's offering those breaks a bit more. If the workplace can't cut it down, just giving them like more time to complete it almost. So having those, those kind of breaks and opportunities to break it down a bit further. I'm happy to maybe formulate that response a bit more in a follow-up email. But yeah, I think that's what I would start with. What are they motivated for within that workplace session and kind of looking at that as my first starting point. Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining. I hope you found it really helpful. And just seeing someone's typing, just gonna see what this is, and then I think we will end our session. Yeah, thank you so much for joining, and take care. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you.